Hello, hola, ¿cómo están? How are you? This is Lena with Especially Made for Me. Welcome, bienvenidos. I'm so glad we're all here. Please, if you're out there watching, whether it's now during the live or maybe the replay, if you don't mind sharing your first name, let us know where you're watching from. Su primer nombre, tiene que dar el nombre completo y de dónde está viendo, viendo el video. Before anything, if you haven't already done so, if you will please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you give me thumbs up, I'll know what you're liking on our video tutorials, and that way I'll know what I can continue doing. It does help if you we call it showing some love. It does help if you subscribe, as we say, showing the love, just doing the thumbs up, subscribing, and sharing the link, clicking on that bell, which helps you with notifications. And of course, subscribing will let you know of when I go live, when I do a premiere and different things like that. And then the notifications, sends you notifications ahead of time. So that way you'll get reminders and things like that. So you'll be able to join in and not miss a thing. Hi, Lake Alfred, Florida. Nice. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Michelle. So today we're going to be doing something, and I kind of feel like I'm backtracking, to be honest with you. At this time, I'm normally working on fall items, and we did a fall wreath last week with a matching bow. And I just thought, you know, I only made one breast cancer item during the month. So I thought I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Hopefully no one will mind. And we're going to do another breast cancer wonderful creation. So I'm going to be doing a ribbon today, and I kind of started it already so that we can maybe save a little bit of time and we can have some fun. I'm going to show some just a different way, something that's not used too much. It's going to be the poof and zigzag method. So I'm going to turn our video, our cameras to the way I normally do so we can see everything here and be able to see the bird's eye view and still be able to see me, you know, chit-chatting and working on the project. But if you've watched any of my video tutorials before, you know that I like using my remnants. I don't like things going to waste if I can absolutely help it. So we're going to be using some of that today. I like showing just different tips on how you can use different things and still be able to make something beautiful without having to use a full roll of mesh or different things like that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be making a ribbon, using some remnants, using a new roll, and doing a method that we haven't done in a while, which is again that poof and zigzag method. So I'm going to change the view of the camera and we're going to go ahead and get started. I kind of, I mentioned just a bit ago, I kind of started the one side already just to save us some time, but we're going to be doing the same on the other side. So what I'm doing with this ribbon, and you can see the other side of the ribbon kind of sticking out with the white, is we're going to be doing two different colors of mesh. So we have this metallic fuchsia pink color, and we're going to be using the light pink mesh that we had started using on the small swag that we did a couple of weeks ago, so that we can use that up. So, and that's going to be making up the other side of our ribbon. So I'm kind of checking the camera. See, I'm getting that little warning sign again. So hopefully you can see and hear me okay. So I'm going to finish putting our stems in on the other side. I kind of started here on the other side where we're going to have our pink, our light pink. And we do it the same way as we would with any wreath form if we do our own stems. Basically making sure that we have one in between. So depending on how you space it out, I normally go about 4 inches on mine, and then I do one in the middle on the opposite side. So that way we can make sure it's nice and full. So I'm just doing that all the way throughout. I'm going to turn it over this way and kind of lift it a little bit. Maybe we can see that a little bit better on this side. So I have my top already set up, and we're going to go ahead and do the other side. Okay, so the poof and zigzag method. So the poof method is the one where we just make like a little, we just stretch it out and we make a little poof with it. So basically that's what we're going to be doing all the way throughout. And then this zigzag is where we'll come in and we'll go back and forth, kind of zigzagging it in between. So it kind of looks, if you can see it here, it almost looks like it's a braid. So it gives it that look, and at the same time, you still have the poofs with the braid look. So it gives it really full, and it makes it look thicker. So that's why I like using this method, although we don't use it too often, because you do end up using a little bit more mesh when you do that, because you're basically going through a third time. So that's probably why we don't use it too often. So here we go. So I'm going to just finish putting in my stems. I'm going to try and see if I can hold that back. I should have just done all of the stems at once, but I kind of went as I went. Started putting them in, and it made it a little bit easier in a way, but now that I'm kind of have that whole side done, it's a little bit, it kind of hides it, and I kind of wanted you to see that. So all I'm doing is to kind of help it from moving, to kind of keep it from moving. I'm using both bars instead of just trying to do it there and having to use glue. And I'm going to lift that up here a little bit so you can kind of see that. I'm using both inner and outer, and then extending it out. So that just helps a little bit to kind of keep it in place. Now you could also just do it on the one and then use some glue. But I find that doing that, it helps a little bit when you don't have a crossbar to keep it in place. And then to do our other color of pink, what we'll end up doing is doing the top, cutting it, and then doing the bottom. So that way we can still have that continuum of that other pink. So something a little bit different. How's the weather out there in Lake Alfred? It's been a little bit weird over here. It's kind of hot, then it's humid, and then with the rain and with the storms, it can't decide what it wants to do, I guess, with regards to the weather. So it's been still raining on and off. Just a little cray-cray here in Pensacola. Okay, last one, and then we get to do some poofs. And what I'm hoping to do with the light pink, since we are using a remnant, we're not using a full roll, and I'll show you what I mean with the other. We may just do the poofs and not the zigzag, so we'll see, but we'll get to actually use it. So let me show you here on my mesh roller. This was a full roll. And when you do the poof and zigzag method, you end up using more. So I'm going to kind of lift it. See how much is left from a full roll. So you do use a little bit more doing this method. So what I'm thinking is, with us using the remnant of our lighter pink that we used a couple of weeks ago, we might just do the poofs. So what we'll do is we'll kind of do the poofs first, and then if we like the way it looks with one side being a little bit thinner, this is the lighter one that we used last time. And we may actually have just enough to do the poof and the, because there's still plenty left from that other project that we did. So we'll see if we can make it work. Hot, rainy, then clear for a few minutes later. So it's kind of doing like it's doing here. It's like it can't decide what it wants to do. Alrighty. So I am going to start here at the bottom, just because I want to tie off our mesh. So I use the zip ties for that, just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And in this case, don't have to worry too much about cutting it straight. I'm just gonna gather it. And get things started on the one side, because this is gonna be tucked under. Okay, and once we have it nice and tight, we can go ahead and cut that excess. Oopsie, it dropped. Okay, so I am doing it on the opposite corner. Let me move the mesh out of the way so you can see what I'm doing here. Because when we come back around, I'm going to put on another stem here to do that last poof, and then tuck it right back under. Okay, so I'm going to make a poof to come here, and we're going to just go around. And on these, I'm going about 5 to 6 inches. I went, I think I did about 8 inches on that other pink. So I wanted those poofs to be a little bit bigger and thicker to cover our frame. Be nice and full. And then I'm just kind of opening up the poof a little bit to help us fill that area. And a couple of things you can do while making this is you could open up the poofs as you go, or you can wait till the end and see if you'll need to open them up. With this type of frame, you could actually wait till the end, especially when you're doing that poof and zigzag method, because that provides a lot of coverage already, so you may not need to open the poofs all the way. Okay, so we have another stem on the other side here, so I'm going to actually use this to tie it off and then come back. So it's a little bit hidden. And I'm going to turn this over here. There we go. Maybe you can see a little bit better. And what I like about doing these, especially if we're going to be doing a, like a walk, these can be carried. Doesn't have to have all the streamers or anything like that, because it's got already the shape of the ribbon itself. Just make sure it's nice and tight as you go. And what I end up doing for these, unless I'm adding those vase fillers, is I cut them, the stems, because we won't have any need for them. Now if you decide you want to do the ribbons, then you may want to keep them until you put the ribbons in and then cut them later. Yeah, I have a lot of the ruffles and the curls as well. It tends to be one of those things, you know, and then I kind of think, well, we got to get back to basics. Because the poofs are really the easiest ones to make. Less time if you're not doing anything fancy. Okay, so here's where we can start our zigzag to go across. Instead of going right next to, we're going to go across. What I tend to do, I'll do a poof, something with a poof, a wreath, or a swag, and then I'll still add the curls just so I can kind of still do some curls and give it a little bit more of a definition or oomph, depending on what we may want to call it. Okay, so again, just zigzagging and just going to go from one side to the other. And what that helps to do is cover that middle. I may have to open this one up and then do it. Let's see. It's a lot of mesh. And then if we need to, we can go back and still open up the poofs. Okay, going back around. Ready to go. There we go. It's hiding from me. Okay, so this is our last one for zigzagging. So from here we could actually cut it, or if you see that you may want to have more of a braid look somewhere else, or may have skipped like I did here, just notice I skipped that one, we can go to that one and do the zigzag and then cut it. I'm thinking I might actually leave it because I could open up the poofs. So I want to make sure we have enough for our top. Okay, so for cutting in for this type of method, I do suggest going a couple of extra inches out so you'll be able to tuck it in with all the extra poofs. And you could always leave that for last. I'm just going to go back here and just tuck it under that wreath form. And we can turn it over. And then we can use our crossbar to just tie it in and cut off any excess. Use the scissors, I won't have to look for the... And always leave yourself at least an inch when you do cut any excess once you have it tied off. That's just to make sure that with the pressure and pulling and different things, it won't come loose on you. Okay. Cute. So much pink. Alrighty, so now we're going to do the same thing, but on this side. Hi, Miss Monica. Welcome, welcome. We're doing a poof and zigzag today. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here, only this time we're going to tie it off right towards the middle back here, and we can do our poof. So I am going to turn it over to make it easier, just so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to go again to our crossbar. Okay, just a suggestion here, whether you're putting this on your own wall, if you make something like this, or you're going to be selling it, push those that you cut from your zip tie back under, so it won't be right against the wall or the door for yourself or your customer, because you don't want it to scratch anything or damage anything. And then again, when you cut these off, to make it more presentable, leave yourself at least an inch. Alrighty, so now we can continue with our ribbon, doing the same thing, just making our poofs, and then we'll come back around to do our zigzag. I try to make sure my ends of the Deco Mesh are tucked under. Makes it a little bit easier and more presentable for your poofs. And that way when you want to open them, you could just pull those right on out. I'm missing a part of the stem. There we go. They keep hiding on me tonight. Think they're trying to tell me something? Alright. So I'm going to go to this last one with the hot pink and then start tucking under to come across to the inner side. Okay, so I'm just going to pull on that pink so I can see that other stem and go right to it. So we want to make sure it looks like they're coming right from each other. Ah, thank you. Alrighty. So back around we go. So depending on your position and how you're comfortable, but there it is. I mean, it's already, you can kind of see the loop coming back around. key is being able to find these other stems that keep trying to hide. Okay, one more after this, and we can start our zigzag. Oh, already. We will catch you on the replay then. Thank you for joining us for the time you were able. Hope the kids are doing well. Probably doing homework now. Alright, so to zigzag, we're just again going to go right across to the other side instead of continuing down. We're going to start zigzagging, and it fills in the middle and it gives it that braid, like a braid look. You can kind of see it more defined in that darker mesh than you can on the lighter one. Okay, looks like just two more after this one. Almost at the end of the mesh. Looks like we did good. Planning this one out to use our remnant mesh. Last one, and we get to cut. And we still have some left over. Now we gotta come up with another project. No. Alrighty, so just tucking under, and you can see we end up right where we started with the other mesh. And we're going to use that same crossbar option. Just make sure it's nice and tight. And if the hands don't let you, you could use the same wire cutters or your scissors to kind of push down on it while you get it tighter. Okay. So now we get to play. I mentioned earlier when for these, normally I would make them for when a group is doing the breast cancer walk, just to kind of grab it and be able to walk around and all of that. So I normally don't do a lot of the ribbons and all of that with these, but a couple of things we can do just to give you some ideas. Of course, you can still do the ribbons. You can do the vase fillers if you've seen my tutorials on that, with being able to put things at the tip of your chenille stems, and you can match the colors. The different pinks or some silver would even look good, or you could do white and then do the darker pink on the lighter white to kind of extend out the colors if you don't want to use the streamers. Another idea I love, which I think is what we're doing today, because I have all of my ribbons out, is to make a bow and actually put it here in the middle and then let the tails kind of come down and then cut these off. So those are the different options. So I'm going to leave those on for now while we work on our bow. And I'm going to move this. Let's see. I want to make sure you can still see it. And get our, we'll use the Easy Bow Maker again. And we're just going to go to town, because we got plenty of ribbons. Let me know if any questions on anything. Don't want to go too fast. Usually when I do that, my Spanglish kicks in anyway, and I want to make sure you could understand me. Okay. While I'm doing this, let me show you a tip. Okay, so we have letters and images on these. I don't know if you've seen my video on making a bow with ribbon that has pictures or letters. So in case not, you can start this by hand instead of using a bow maker or the Easy Bow Maker or anything that you use, Pro Bow the hand, and start your bow by hand. So you would have to know how long you want your tail to be. And let's see, looks like about 10 inches right there. So what we do is have our ribbon facing in the direction we want it to face, which is of course for us to be able to read it, right? And we're going to put it just in between our thumb and our index finger. And then you decide how big of a loop you want. So we're going to go, let's say 6, so you have to go 12. So you're going to go up and under. And you can double check to make sure you're at the same measurement you want. And then you're just going to tuck that under again. Okay? So on the one side is up and under. On the other side, we're going to do the opposite, because now we're on the bottom. So from under, we're going to go over. And then you can measure your loop, or you can just measure it against your existing loop, and we're still just tucking it under. So you can kind of hold it there in place, and then just kind of make sure by extending them out that they match. And then there's your other tail. And of course, if you want more than 2, you can do more than two loops. So you could do it again. So we can do that again just so that you can see that. So we're going to go up and under. And now that you have the loop right next to it, you can use that as your guide. And we're going to tuck right underneath, right in between your thumb and that index finger. And you can use that to match. Now if you notice, you can read everything and see the images is facing the right way. They're not backwards or upside down. So that's one way to do that. Just a little tip on making that on the bow if you didn't already know that. Excuse me. And we're not having to twist in the middle or do anything. We're just tucking it under in between. And then you measure out to match your tails. And you can cut from there. Okay, so now if you want that to be the base of your bow, you can just put it in your bow maker, or if you're going to leave it at that and just do the one, you could do that as well. Decisions. Okay, so I'm going to place it on my Easy Bow Maker just so I can play with everything because it's like having an extra set of hands. And I do want to make my dovetails, so I'm going to do them both at the same time. Just folding, meeting the corners and cutting diagonally. So did we learn something new today, or did we already know about that with the ribbons? New? All right. Glad I was able to help teach something new today. That is awesome. So I'm just going back again with a different ribbon. For this one, I am twisting it because the actual edge of the ribbon, you can tell, is kind of the inside of the ribbon, even though it's a pretty good matching color. And I'm making it the same size as my base ribbon. Well, maybe we can practice together. I love making bows. And I find the more that I make bows, the more I like it. So maybe that'll be the same. Seems to get better with time. You know, like I guess like what they say, with practice. With practice, we can get better. Hello. Let's see, Skylar, am I pronouncing that correctly? Welcome, welcome. Glad you love it. Oh, cool. Glad you're getting those, Michelle. When I first bought my my bow dauber years ago, it actually came with a DVD. That's, am I saying my, kind of giving away my age? I don't know. But it came with it came with a DVD, and it had, I guess, the lady that came up with the bow dauber showing how to use it, and she actually, you know, showed different tips and things with it, which I loved. It's like, oh, I didn't think about doing that. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. So it was nice. I don't know if it's still, if they're still doing that, if it comes with it or not, but it was definitely helpful to me. Still does? Awesome. I'm glad they're still doing that. Let's see, I want to go a little bit longer with this one. About 18. Because guess what we're going to do? Gotta do some curls. Okay, so with this one, I'm going to go a little bit shorter because we want to make sure we see the ones on the bottom. And again here, if you're not sure they're the same, you could always lift them and see and shorten it some or make it longer. That way they'll be even if you're not doing the actual measurement. Okay, so this one I'm not going to do the twisting because it's going to be our tail for our ribbon. We can extend them out together. Uh-oh. I'm getting those flashes again. Hopefully it won't disconnect us. It's giving me a warning. Okay, almost done. Just one more ribbon. I want to add that little ribbon one. And we'll just make the one loop for each side. So we'll just have the 2 loops for our middle. And we'll be pretty much done with our bow. Okay, this one is going to be in the middle, just 1 and 1. And I'm keeping it the same as our other 2 loops, since it's going to be right in between. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that's helpful. I always get concerned that I'm going too slow. So thank you. That's helpful to me. I appreciate that. Okay, so this one we're going to use again to measure our tail. Aww, yay, you just made my day. Blessed my heart today. Thank you, thank you. I keep thinking, and I guess this is probably why I do it. It's like, what if I've never made these things before? Because that's usually why we go to YouTube and try to find, you know, how to make this and how to make that. We want to know how to make it. So that, I guess that's where my mind goes. We need instructions and directions and different things. So, and if I ever don't go in that much detail, I'll refer to another video that has the detail. So, for that same reason. Alrighty, so guess what comes next? We gotta tie it off to make sure it doesn't fall apart. Okay, so again, we want to make sure that we go completely under all of our loops, all of our ribbon, because if not, it will definitely not be a good thing. And I have done that. So we want to make sure we grab them all, that our zip tie is underneath. And what we want to do is make it snug enough to where it won't come apart, but not too tight to where we won't be able to move the ribbons. And I don't think this zip tie wants to cooperate. Do I have it backwards? I do. Okay, let me do that again. There we go. Now it should work. It would be helpful if I do it right. Okay, so we're going to hold it on one side and lift so we can position that right in the middle. Oops, make sure I'm staying view, but don't make it too tight to where you can't move your ribbons around. Try to grab our zip ties here. Okay, so what we'll do is, again, make it snug enough to where nothing will come apart. And we're going to move this to the back. Okay. And we want to have a stem or pipe cleaner. You call them pipe cleaners. Don't have to be fancy. Ah, well, good. See, that helps me as well. Glad that it's helpful to you. I want to make sure you can kind of see me, even from a distance. But want to make sure you see the project. Okay, so I put a zip tie in between, and I'm just tightening it up a little bit more, just to make sure it stays put. And now we get to play with our ribbons. So we do a little bit of shaping. You don't have to go too crazy with the shaping. Just kind of hold your stem back here and your zip tie, just to make sure everything is facing the way you want it to face, that all of your tails are in the right direction where you want them. If you need to center them off a little bit more, and so on. And that is before we do the full tightening, because we want to make sure you can still move everything. After that, we can put it on our swag and then do a little bit more shaping as we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten a little bit more until I can't tighten anymore, just so it'll stay put. And we're going to cut off this excess on the zip tie, and we will use our stem, our chenille stem, to secure it onto our swag. So there's our swag. We're going to go right here in the middle, and we can run it through to the back. I'm going to try and get these, try to reach the stem so I can pull back a little bit. Now the good thing about doing this poof and zigzag method, it gives your bow a place to sit and not be drowned per se into your mesh. And I know it's going to get a little bit flattened, but it's okay. We're going to be able to fluff it up. So I want to use this crossbar just to tighten it off. We don't have to pull back on it, because we want to make sure that it looks like it's above our mesh and not going under like it's drowning. And just give it a few twists, and you can cut off the excess, just like we can do with the rest of the stems if we're not going to use streamers, ribbons, or any other embellishments. And then just kind of tuck it so it won't scratch anything. Okay, so here we go. So now we can position our loops again. And I like putting my hands pretty much right on into it. It opens them up. But you can definitely shape them any way you like. If you run your thumb under and then use your hand on the top, it curls it. Curls your ribbons. Makes it a little bit easier. Just like so. And then just open your loops and position them where you'd like to have them. Okay, now we did this, was it last week? Our curls. We're gonna do our little curls again. And again, you just kind of go in, fold in, and just curl it under. And if you're going to be packaging this for shipping or transporting, you can leave the curls, and you can do the same thing with your tails. leave them curled, and then they can get uncurled once they arrive to their final destination. And do that with the others as well. Yes, I definitely wouldn't suggest putting them right on top of each other because they'll weigh each other down. And then you have to deal with, dealing with the flatness of it, and you'll have a lot more fraying that way. So what I do with mine, and I'll try to, actually, I'll need to make a video on that. I put a hanger on mine, and I wrap it with a bag. I have these large clear bags that I use for that. And you can hang them in a closet, or we actually made a rack that we have in the garage, and we put them there. You could do the same with the wreaths, the swags, anything that you make with mesh. I would definitely suggest doing that. And that way, for storing and transporting from one place to the other, you can hang them up versus having them one on top of the other. But if you have to put them on top, one on top of the other, or side by side, at least with the bag, the mesh, since mesh likes to kind of stick together, they won't be pulling on each other once you try to pull them apart to set up your display. So here is our swag. And then again, for pulling these, you just find your beginning roll and just kind of pull. You could leave it short, or you could extend it all the way out. Entirely up to you. Any other questions out there? Looks like we're pretty much done with our project, other than cutting stems. Okay, so there we are. So we have a multicolor duo color breast cancer ribbon with a bow. So from here, all we do is just go in, and you could either tuck these under if you don't want to cut them, or you can cut them off and then do a little tuck. Entirely up to you if you're not going to be doing anything else with the stems, like adding ribbons or any other embellishments. Ah, thank you, Michelle. Glad you like it. Pretty easy and fun, and it makes it easier to hold if you're using it for a breast cancer walk too. So it's good for hanging, but also good for being out there for promoting breast cancer awareness. So something that touches my heart, because I had my nana pass after having that surgery, my aunt struggling with it after having the surgery. I have a couple of cousins dealing with cancer, so definitely needed to do one more item. So any other questions or anything? If not, I don't want to keep you. I know it's Friday. I want to go out and have some fun. Thank you, Skylar. Well, until next time then, we will be again here at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday. So do come join me. Show some love by just giving thumbs up, subscribing if you haven't already done so. And do share the link with your friends and family. Let them see the tutorials, and they can watch a replay and let me know what they think. Do check on the comments periodically so I can make sure I answer any questions or follow up with anything. So please let me know. And stay safe out there. And until next time, stay safe, keep creating, stay liquid. You're welcome, Michelle. Thank you for joining us. Good night, everyone. I'm gonna just change the view here in case you're still with me. I'm gonna try and stand this up. It'll cover me. There we go. Kinda, sorta. Good night, Michelle. Good night, everyone. Until next time.